Good morning, everybody. My name is Brendan Cooney, and I'm the Senior Executive Scientist with Wexford County Council. As you can see there, the title of my presentation is Climate Change and Coastal Zone Resilience, a local authority perspective on what tools we need. And when I talk about resilience, I talk about it in a general point of view in how people are going to go along and how councils and how countries are going to go along and manage climate change and the impacts that it's going to have and is having already on climate change. And you can see from that photograph there, this is one along our coast, which one of the areas where we are having problems at the moment. And I'm going to go through a lot more things on it at the moment. As you can see from this map here, this is a map of Ireland, and you can see down in the southeast corner is County Wexford. It's highlighted there. We are not experiencing the full brunt of the southwesterlies that we get, but what we do have is we problems with very soft coastline, particularly along our east coast. You can see the mouse there running along the east coast there, and also certain sections along our southern coast of our county. We actually have some problems. In the previous photograph, where the houses were, is actually a small little point just in here. It is, and it is actually slowly eroding away. We'll zoom in again into Wexford, about 140,000 people, fairly spread all over our county. As I said, we have an awful lot of soft coast along there. Actually, literally from here up to here, we nearly have, it's all one big beach, and it's a sand dune all along the back of that. And there are certain areas up along here then, we have beaches as well, but there's also very, very soft coastline. Along here, it's all one big beach. From here to here, you can actually walk along it and you will be going along a beach. But behind that, you've got dunes and also got an awful lot of soft coastline, and also along here and on certain parts along this coast here. Wexford has over 250 kilometers of coastline, and the county has severe issues with coastal erosion and flooding. It sure does. This is just going to be to show you one little area where we have problems. And we'll go on to what tools we're looking for after that then. This is a map from the 1850s, somewhere around there, when Ireland was first mapped by the British Army. And what was then turned out into the Ordnance Survey of Ireland. And you can see here there's a house. It's actually a house is marked here, and you can actually see a road, and the road goes down here. So, and it looks like it's even then there was some erosion occurring. This was taken in 2014. The house is gone. All the land all along this part of the coast, this is part of the southern coast near Kilmore Quay, it's actually gone now at this stage. And that house is gone. And there's a whole lot of new houses now built here. And this house, I think it was built sometime in the 1940s. So, and these houses were only built around the year 2000 or so. You can actually see from this that actually there was a road already. And you can see the road here is already now going into the sea, and they've had to build a new road. We go forward 2019, and now we can see even that road is gone, and they've had to go back and build another road closer to these houses. I'll just go back again, and you'll see this is this house here. You can see it, and you can see this little embankment across here. That embankment is now gone because that's where the road is, and that is the problem. That's only happened in 5 years. It is shocking. It really is shocking just how fast coastal erosion is beginning to happen at the moment. This is not isolated. We're seeing this now in an awful lot of parts of our county, and we are having a number of issues. Number one, economically, how are we going to go along and solve them? Number two, socially, how these people, some of these places we're having to, particularly farmland, we're having to decide that these actually have to be abandoned. We cannot afford to go along and do this. Get my mouse back up again. And this area here, you're going to see in the next slide, and it's all around, a small bit here as well. We actually did some works here, and I think it cost us a six-figure sum. And it didn't last very long. There's actually a slipway here, and an awful lot of it is actually gone at this stage. You can go along. Now we are using a drone. We actually purchased drones, and we started training with them. I'll talk a bit more about it later, but you can look back. This is looking back about maybe 80 meters back from it. You can actually see the little bit of work we've done. We've put in boulders and things like that, but it is really, really expensive. The road was here in 2014. This is the 2014 road. That's not that long ago. We now have this. As you can see, this is the road where it is at the moment. And it is, and recently we've had more storms even before the full winter came in 2020, and we're having issues with it. This is over in a place called Duncannon, one of the storms about 4 or 5 years ago. You can see the massive amount of damage that has been done here. And this was actually up the Barrow Estuary. And it caused huge amount of damage. I mean, you can see big boulders and all sorts of things here we have, and even some concrete blocks that we've had put in before to go along and stabilize embankments, things like that. They just were blown out of it. They were. This is over near Featherton-Sea. And you can see here, these householders here have done their own bit of work to try and go along. I think they actually even put in some concrete along here. This has cost tens of thousands. I mean, these things are not small. These things are about half the size of a car. So you can see the problems we have. You can see the coastline there. It's actually quite soft. A lot of it is actually just unconsolidated soils and things like that. It's just soil, and it's just sitting there on top, and it is slowly eroding away. Part of what we've been doing is we've been looking at this and trying to figure out what are we going to do. One of the things we were doing bits of stopgaps, but what we decided we're going to go along and survey our whole coastline. And what we did was last year, well, the year before, 2018, we started. 2019, we actually got our qualifications, and as you can see from this, lovely group of us all, and our two trainers. They are actually both pilots. One is Aer Lingus, another one is a private jets. And there's all of us here. And we have people from our planning section, we have people from our health and safety, and there's us in environment. And we actually went along, trained how to use drones. And you can see them, some of them, the ones drones here. The reason being was that we decided we need to go along and get a good grip, get an idea as to what exactly is happening. When you look at the coastline from the ground, you actually don't see a whole lot. But when you look above and you can actually go backwards, you can have a great view of what exactly is happening. And you can also, when at low tides, you can actually see what exactly the geology is like as well. We bought one of these, and these were great. We had one of them. Unfortunately, it got so much use, it actually had what to call, I suppose, an uncontrolled landing. It did, and it shattered. But we actually went along, and we have over nearly 200 kilometers of our coastline. It has now been surveyed using one of them. They were brilliant. We bought one of them as well. They're not bad. They could be a little bit better. This is the type of stuff we're getting, as you can see. This is actually along the south coast here. This is actually towards near down towards Hook Head, and you can see you can get a great grasp of what is happening, what is out at sea, what is happening on the coast, and what is happening behind it. You can actually get a great idea as to what it is. And you can also look at the geology all along here. You can see it's actually quite soft. A lot of it is actually sand. It's well built up. I mean, this thing is 10 to 15 meters high, but it's just sand and clay. This is a video. This is near Baginbun Head, and this is what we're getting. We look at it like this. We go along. We drive along we fly along the coast, and we can actually see what's happening here. This is actually it's quite impermeable, but it is slowly eroding away. You can see Baginbun Head up here, and there's a beach here, and we have got a great idea as to what exactly our coastline is like. I can show you another one. This one now is actually up near Cahor, sorry, Blackwater. It's actually where it is. This is actually north of Blackwater. And look at this. This is shocking. It's all the sand. An awful lot of sand pits up here. And look at what's coming up here. A house, somebody's house. And you can actually see the electricity lines. This thing is not old. This thing actually had electricity at one time, and it has fallen in. There's an old a pond at the back of it, and it's leaking out. But the erosion here is shocking. I mean, there's not even a fence anymore. The farmers aren't even fencing it anymore. They're doing nothing. And this is why we are looking we've got some tools ourselves. This slide is actually north of Rosslare Harbour. This is the railway between Rosslare Harbour and Dublin. And you can see where the erosion is happening along here. Again, very, very soft coastline all along here. This was a bridge here built in the late 1980s. And it used to come down here, and this field came out way down here somewhere. It actually was the boundary. It's gone. That has all been eroded back now at this stage. And we are seeing it happening faster and faster. We have more storms. We've noticed, even over the last 10 years, we've noticed we're having a lot more storms and a lot more heavier storms, and they really are eroding stuff back. We actually shared this with CIE. We took that, so I can go back again. That was actually taken in 2018. Late 2018, 2019, the CIE got their skates on, and we shared it with them, and they were, I think, were quite surprised at just how close it was. And as you can see here, this is during the COVID. They actually had started already during the first lockdown, and they continued. They were considered an essential service, and there was a nearby quarry with big boulders and things like that. And they did all this work during that period, and they went back over nearly a kilometre back along here. They have just to go along and protect this railway. And particularly with what we are having now at the moment with Brexit, Rosslare Harbour has taken on an increased significance of what's happening out there. And so there's an awful lot more work being put into things which heretofore wasn't happening. I was very lucky myself during the first lockdown. I actually was managed to get most of our coastline surveyed. I was considered an essential service. Erosion was happening, and the weather was fabulous. So we were very, very lucky. But unfortunately, that took weeks. It did for me to do it. Very, very slow, but the data is absolutely fabulous. It is. We went along then and we purchased one of these. It's a bigger next step up. It is from the little Phantom 4 we had, and it is great. The detail we have from this camera is brilliant. These are the tools that we are looking at ourselves as a county. We're hoping to do it again, do more surveys, but they are very, very time consuming. There's no two ways about it. You have a certain distance you can go. And even if you want to try and go beyond the legal distance at the moment of 500 meters or line of sight, some of these instruments don't exactly do very, very well. The antennas, and there's so much local houses that have their own Wi-Fi, and they have an awful lot of interference. So you don't get the big range that you actually think you have of going 15, 20 kilometers. There's no way you're going to get that at all. We saw this, and this really was incredible. From the Cherish, it was from the GSI and their project they're running between ourselves and Wales. It's LiDAR, and so we are looking at buying one of these. It's a DJI Matrice, and we're hoping to then go along and buy one of these then as a LiDAR unit to go with it. I believe it is coming out this year. We know it is because we've been looking at the prices and things like that already. Very, very interesting. The reason being is that we can go along and actually start getting heights. What we want to do is using one of these is to go along and get this type of stuff. This is the type of detail we want. We want to go along and have a base station somewhere close by, tying in with the DJI Matrice, go along getting absolute heights values, and then from the LiDAR, then we can start to get a lot more detail of what's happening, heights, shapes, things like that, and we want to be able to go along and start building a database of this information. From it also, we can go along and work out then the volumes of material being shifted, and we can get a good grip of what's happening along our coastline. We really do need it. If I go back, I won't go back to the one that I showed you there where there was a number of houses. We've spent an awful lot of money on that, and if we're going to have to justify doing it, we have to get a lot more data on what we do. There's a deficit of data that we have at the moment. This is the geology map from GSI themselves. From this, we go along and we can see what's happening along there. We can look at the geology. The geology only gives us a certain amount of information. It does. We then have other problems then with flooding and things like that as well. And you can also see this here up north of the county. We're having to go to the internet to get data, and unfortunately, an awful lot of people themselves, the general public, are going to the internet. And while it looks great, the accuracy of an awful lot of this stuff might not be great. It might not. So we're crying out for tools that have a proper scientific basis behind them, and tools that we can stand over. This is a tool from one of the tools we have from the GSI. There is a certain amount of information out there, but it needs to be compiled in information. It needs to be centralized. We need to get a body who can go along and look at all this and get it all together, give it back to local authorities. We don't have the time or resources at the moment. We don't. This is going back to another house. As you can see here, it was nearly one of my last slides. You can see here, you can see there's lovely fields here. This is this house now. Those fields are gone. That house now we expect that house now in the next 1 or 2 years, will be gone. And with that, I would like to thank you. I'm actually put a plea out for tools. We need tools, we need data, we need to go along and people to guide us instead of where we go. Thank you very much indeed.